According to the American Resort Development Association, more than 9 million households in the U.S. own some form of timeshare, either weeks, points, club membership, etc. Yet at any given time, it's estimated that roughly 1 million people are looking to end their ownership. In fact, our next guest says that with a quick and simple online search, you can find thousands of timeshares listed for less than $1, maybe even free with no interested buyers. Here to explain is a timeshare exit industry expert, Gordon Newton. Good morning.
Good morning, Carly. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is interesting. And before we got started, my first guess, but when we got talking, is that this is a lot of people here in the Bay Area that I think own timeshares that may be wanting to get out.
Well, look, there is hope for timeshare owners, right? And the reason why I wrote the Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit is because there are a lot of pitfalls along the way. It's easy to fall victim to these scams. I tell people, look, they're called con artists for a reason. They're not con slobs, they're con artists. They're good at what they do. So they're going to tell you everything that you want to hear, not necessarily everything you need to hear. And that's why I tell people, download a free copy of the Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit. If you're looking to end your timeshare ownership, get started there. It helps level the playing field. Many of our clients that have come to us looking to end their timeshare ownership, they've often said to me, boy, if I knew then what I know now, I would have never fallen either victim to that scam or perhaps even purchased it in the first place. The resale market for these things is virtually non-existent, and the contracts are written in such a way that they're designed to go on into perpetuity. So many of our clients have come to us after inheriting a timeshare ownership. So they're designed to go on to your kids and your kids' kids. There's, you know, the never-ending fees associated with them by way of maintenance fees and special assessments. You know, all these radio ads and everybody making these promises, we get you out of your money back, or we have attorneys on staff. How do you see through and actually find a reputable company? That's why I wrote the Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit. It's to help level the playing field between consumer and these companies and these attorneys and the resorts all promising the same thing. How can you find your way through to a safe and legal end to your timeshare ownership? There are real protections that you need to ask for as a consumer, as a timeshare owner when you're ending your timeshare. You know, you have to see through the marketing. You know, you mentioned before all these radio ads. We get you out of your money back. That sounds very promising on the front end, but what people don't realize is you have to ask the next question. When will you get me out?
Exactly.
The answer is they really don't know. So you have to ask for financial protections during your exit process.
So what about those consumers who are in a timeshare and no longer want to be in a timeshare? What do you tell them?
Well, you know, you mentioned it. There's a little over 9 million timeshare owners in the United States, but it's estimated that at any given time there are 1 million timeshare owners looking to end their timeshare ownership. And so what I tell those people is look, when you've gone through the life cycle of your timeshare ownership and you're ready to get out, I tell people you're never more vulnerable than when you've decided to end your timeshare ownership. And knowledge is power, right? It's a cliche. It stands the test of time for a reason because it's true. And so that's why I wrote the Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit, to help level the playing field between consumer and timeshare exit company or timeshare attorney or the resort, all promising the same thing. Everybody's telling them what they want to hear, not necessarily what they need to hear. So as a consumer, as a timeshare owner, I tell folks, go to myexitguide.com, download a free copy. It's a 20 to 30-minute read, but it will help level the playing field for you when you've decided to end your timeshare ownership. People need to understand that timeshares are not a financial asset. They're not an asset. They are a liability. And the longer you hold on to that liability, the more money you're going to lose. So the joy that you get out of your timeshare, that's your return, right? So they're not financial assets. You're not going to make money off of these things. The value in them is purely in the joy.
And is it because they're not assets that people can't actually just sell their timeshare? Because that seems like the easy way out for most things.
Well, that's with anything else, whether it be a living room lamp, a car, or anything else, you should have a reasonable expectation of being able to sell your timeshare, even for a fraction of what you paid for it. But this industry, it's a little bit different. Like I stated before, there's about 1 million folks at any given time that are looking to end their timeshare ownership, so there is a glut of inventory on there. And these people have pain. They want to end their maintenance fee obligation. They want to end their special assessment fee obligation. They're no longer using their resort, but they're still financially on the hook, and they want the pain to stop. The other thing that we touch on in the consumer's guide is that many people don't realize that you're in competition with the resort when you're going to sell. So some resorts have actually taken measures to devalue your timeshare the moment it goes on the resale market because you're competing with them. They want to be able to sell their timeshares that they have inventory of. They don't necessarily want you to sell yours. It answers some of these, painful questions, and some of these folks might be surprised to learn what these answers are. So there are a lot of people out there promising to be able to help with their pain. The industry is changing in that regard. There's a lot of new entrants in this industry, which in part is why I wrote this. It will help navigate and find a viable, safe, legal end to your timeshare ownership.
And we're talking about hurricane season. It's been so rough this year. What about timeshares that have hurricane damage? As a seller or as a potential buyer, what do you need to look out for?
Well, as a timeshare owner, you really need to be careful of special assessments, right? It's hurricane season. So if you own a timeshare, you are on the hook for the repairs that might cause. So those folks, if your resort was damaged, don't be surprised if you receive what's called a special assessment in the mail, because you are responsible for paying for the repair of your resort.
All right, Gordon Newton, great advice there. Thank you so much. And if you'd like more information about Newton Group Transfers and the services they provide, we can connect you. Just head to fox59.com/links.
The market is flooded. You'll see a lot of timeshares listed for free or for $1 for people just looking to end their obligation for those maintenance fees, which have been a problem for the resorts and for timeshare owners. And historically, they've been rising faster than the rate of inflation. So there is an issue there. A lot of our clients share that common thread of, by the time they've reached us, they've been burned before just trying to end their timeshare ownership. So we really wrote this guide for people to have a solid understanding of what they're up against and some pitfalls and red flags to look out for in their exit process. So the guide actually has a checklist at the end so they can actually go through and compare and come up with a good exit strategy for ending their timeshare ownership when it's time for them. Understand that there's no financial investment in a timeshare. These are not assets, these are liabilities. So the value you get out of a timeshare is purely in its use. Whether you're at the peak of your enjoyment with your timeshare or you've reached the end of your life cycle and you're looking to end it, read the Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit. As a timeshare owner, you owe it to yourself to get educated. Many of our clients have said to us, if I knew then what I know now, I would have never made the decisions that I've made. So read the guide, get educated, download a free copy at myexitguide.com.